unedited, this video. I don't really know where I'm going to go with it, but I wanted to drop the craziest news. So I've deleted some videos off of my channel that involved PACHUKA. Ever since I started going back and working on Glottica, I ended up going through and realizing like I feel like I'm ready and I've passed a lot of trauma that I want to talk about reuniting the Graal history and the lore, which, and this, I don't want to make this about me, but like, I feel like I'm the only one who can do that because I'm the one who's been there I was there for the 2 years, and then it was my content that finished off Graal Classic and also jump-started Graal 2001 and the company. And Graal 2002 was also a sequel to my game. And I was one of the original headsets. I was head, like, technically I was head 32, and I know that doesn't mean much to everybody, but it means something to me, and it means something to everybody who understands. Here's the big news. The story is, I had gone through the work of, I've been realizing some stuff. Like, one, I don't want to be in animosity with everybody, obviously. And so some of the stuff I had put out there about PACHUKA, while a lot of that, while it was true or whatever, it is 25 years later, and I do remember reading one of his old letters where I think he had gotten out of prison, and he had said that he regretted what he had did, and he feels like he just wants to be a good person. And so that seems to be like a rare thing among people who have been accused or alleged or convicted of such, whatever. But, so I didn't want to like go through this motion of holding him to that forever because I don't think that that's fair. I wouldn't want that to happen to me if I had made a mistake in my 20s or whenever. I don't want that to haunt me for the rest of my life if I'm capable of change. And so, I looked him up. One of the big reasons I looked him up is because I want the Southern map. I want it. I've always wanted it. I think everybody's always wanted it, but not more than me. I've always wanted the Southern map because that is Graal. Like, that is Graal. Like, when Graal came out of beta mode, PACHUKA Southern map, PACHUKA ruled Graal, and the Southern map is Graal. And Unix Mad messed that up because Unix Mad doesn't care about people and he doesn't care about games. And so he doesn't understand what PACHUKA's levels represent. And a lot of us do. And I know a lot of people, especially some of you who are into history and who've been around for decades, or even over a decade, you understand that the history of this game, it can't be replaced. This was at the dawn of the internet. This was before games were popular. This was before YouTube. This was before voice chat. This was before all kinds of stuff. Like the stuff that we had went through, we were just speaking through websites and chat messengers. And so none of us really knew who each other was. Getting your photo onto a computer was a whole ordeal. You were working with at most, sometimes your computers only had 256 colors. Your resolutions were small. It was a very, very, very primitive time in the internet. So these levels are priceless, and the stories and stuff that had went into them are priceless. I've always wanted the Southern map back. When it left Graal, I felt like Graal was incomplete. And so, anyways, I just figured, hey, why not find PACHUKA and for the first time talk to him in over 25 years, and for the first time talk to him voice to voice. And I've never actually called anybody from Graal. This is, from back in the day, because we had created a legacy and it was a massive war zone. And that's something you guys have to understand. It was a massive war zone at the early days of the internet, and technology was crazy and cybersecurity was out of control. So for things like these to have been made, they can't be replaced. And it's important they don't disappear. So I just called PACHUKA, and I'd go through this whole process of finding him. which wasn't too hard just because I've been online, guys, since the late 90s. I know how to find people. And so I had found him, and one of the things that I found was he is running a nonprofit now with his wife. I don't want to go into details about his private life, but I just want to say he's running a nonprofit with his wife, and I think that's an important detail. I don't want to talk anything more about his personal life, but he's running it with his wife to help victims who've been taken advantage of, or minors who've been exploited. And it's an atonement program to also try to rehabilitate and shield survivors from also recommitting abuse. So Pachuka is trying to better himself, and he is trying to make amends for what he's done. I saw that and I thought to myself, I don't want to continue punishing him for something he can't change. He did it, you know, but whatever he did, you know, we've all done stuff, and some worse than others. You can't change it. And so I figured what I would just do was call him. And so I went through, you know, the process of trying to find his number, and, you know, out of the blue, you know, well, they didn't pick up. So out of the blue though, I get this phone call, and I pick it up, and I hear my, my true name, you know, Antago is like my true name. It's like one of my true names. So I hear someone say Antago on the other end, and instantly I know it was Pachuka. And I said, hey, you know, how you doing? And he says, it's Pachuka. And that's the first time I've ever heard him speak, and it's the first time I've ever heard him pronounce his name. And so that was really nice. Like, you guys don't understand, over 25 years, the names in this community, and it may not mean something to you now, but I'm doing this for documentation because it's a historical community. So whether it interests anybody who's watching this, I don't care. It needs to be documented because in the future, the history of Graal's lore needs to live on, because it's one of the first especially the first multiplayer online games that have ever existed in the first decade of the internet, like the first 5 years of the internet as it had become public. Because the internet didn't really go public until 1994, even though it came out in 1990 or whatever. But it wasn't public until 94. And then people weren't really on the internet until like 96. So, you know, and Graal came out in early 98, and it was being coded in 97. So Graal is irreplaceable. It's historical. It's one of the first online communities ever, especially gaming communities. And so I need to document this. Whether anybody's interested in hearing this, I want you guys to hear it. And I don't care, you know, where this goes, but I want you guys to understand. So we just the first thing he said was, you know, and I just said, hey, how you doing or whatever. And he goes on to tell me, you know, he starts apologizing for the way that they had treated me when I was a kid. And he's like the first and only person to do that, by the way. He's the only person to truly apologize for what they've done to me. And what Pachuka did definitely ruined my life because people looked up to him. And I don't hold it against him. Like, I don't want him to feel guilty because he apologized profusely and he is trying to make himself better. Whereas, like, a lot of people in the community, they didn't care, right? And so we just got into talking. We had a big talk about where we've been in life for just, you know, briefly touching on various topics. And he's talking about how he's trying to better himself. And, you know, based on his life experiences and the thoughts and stuff that he had dealt with in prison and where he is now, and, you know, having, I mean, he's not alone. Like, everybody has family, right? So he's got family and stuff. And so he just thought about, like, the way that he had treated me or the things that he's done. And he doesn't want any of that to ever happen to anybody he knows or loves. And so he regrets the things he did. And he just wants to make the world better and pay for it and atone for it. And so they're running this charity to atone for that and to help make the world a better place. And that is very, very rare. It's almost, it's next to, like, impossible that you ever hear about a predator, quote unquote, a predator or a criminal ever trying to spend their life correct or at least helping the people in the realm where they had fucked up. A lot of criminals, they never pay for it and they always deny it and they just want to move on. So I don't want to continue to look down on Pachuca. I think that that is extremely, extremely respectful and miraculous that he's doing that and that he feels that way. And yeah, so I accept his apology, and we just been speaking and stuff for a while. And one of the things that I had touched on was I don't want his legacy to disappear because Unix Mad can't fix it. I know that there's no going back between him and Unix Mad, and nobody else. Like who else is he going to do this or give these levels to? Like who else is really going to? I don't know. I'm like, I don't want your content to just disappear. Or what are you doing with it? You know. And so we just got to talking, and he entrusted it to me and gave me his content and signed a contract transferring the full rights of all of the Pachuca game content of Graal to me in writing. So we both signed the contract. And so I just wanted you guys to know that for the first time in over 25 years, Pachuca's levels are no longer in lockdown. They are no longer forbidden. Not in the way that they were. They're mine now. I have taken over Pachuca's content. It's my property now. And I say that because I want to make sure that it gets merged where it needs to be, and that the story gets told, and that Pachuca's character lives on in the lore as the god of mischief, and to pick the parts that are relevant to the game, not the mistakes he's made in life, if that makes sense. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. So I've removed some stuff, and I just want to move forward. Like I like him. I think he's a good person. And, he had been through a lot. He explained to me he'd been through a lot also. Like, we had both come from child abuse. And he was only 18 when he was in Graal. And I was 12 when all this stuff was going down. So, 18 years old, he was basically just a child himself, even though legally he was not. So I'm not going to hold the stuff he's done against me. He's apologized for it, and he was very, very sorry for it. And he fully acknowledged, and he said he doesn't really remember a lot of people, but he really feels sorry for what he did to me. And so I know that it had been weighing on him. That's not random. He could have doubled down and said, I don't like you. I don't care. How dare you post videos about me? And instead he didn't. He said, I'm really sorry. I think that what I did to you was just not something we understood was going to really harm you, because it was early days of the internet. And he said, I would never want that to happen to any other child. So like, he definitely acknowledged what he did. And you guys, that's huge. That's huge. Like that takes a big man to do that. So like, anyways, because people, I'm not going to name drop, but there's other people who have had that opportunity, and hopefully they will come to that place as well. But anyway, yeah, Pachuca's levels are now officially no longer lost in lawyer land, in the lawyer land of Cali. So Pachuca had got a lawyer and forbade anybody from using his content, and he forbade Unix Mad from doing anything with it, and it was removed from the server. And everybody has thought about it. Everybody has wanted it and missed it, because it is truly what Graal is. Like, when Graal came out of beta mode, Pachuca's levels were Graal. And for that to be there, and then one day it's gone because of a dispute with the server owner, you can't undo the fact that it is Graal. And it's true history. And I don't want that to disappear. So yeah, I have taken control and ownership of it. And, I've never signed Destiny and Glottica over to Unix Mad. So, I'm making this official that Pachuca's levels are now officially a part of Destiny. I don't know, I'm not going to say that it is Destiny, just because I don't know the names I want to do. Like, I do want to start naming his world. He never got the chance to name his maps because of, it was so quick. It was like he finished the levels. I think he took a vacation, after he finished his levels, he was taking a break because he had just worked so hard on them. And when he came back, Unixmad tried to steal them. And so that's how they disappeared. They were up for like 2 weeks and then they were gone. But like these other portions up here had been there for months, maybe like 6, 7, 9 months. They'd been up there for a while. So they are definitely iconic. And you will see this in the first, like if you go back to the oldest versions of Graal, you'll find it on the map of the non-beta mode. So like when Graal is like, and that matters. Like in gaming world, when a game is no longer in beta mode, what you see is what you get. So PACHUKA's content is Graal, and it will never not be. And that's historical. So like I just couldn't live with having that forever on lockdown. And it's no longer. So the first time in 25 years, his levels are no longer in lockdown. And I don't know what I'm going to do entirely just yet with them because it's a big planning process, but it is now my property, and it is now officially a part, in connection with the other parts of Graal Classic that still belong to myself, including Glottica. These are all officially one piece. And so anyways, yeah, I'll figure it out. This needs to be moved over, to make sure it's lined up properly. Most likely, like I said, over here, it fits. Hold on, if I can try to move this. It fits nicely over here. And I tried to scale it properly since the last video. So it'd probably fit more better like this. If you watch this dirt here, you can see it lines up with these dirt cliffs here that dip down into Destiny. And so anyway, I don't know exactly what I'm going to do and stuff from here, but I just wanted you guys to know that for the first time in 25 years, PACHUKA's levels are out. They've come back from the dead. They're no longer they've come back from the dead. They were forbidden. For 25 years, they've been forbidden, legally forbidden. He would not let anybody touch them. He said, it's my property. And I think that he wouldn't mind other people using them before. He was like, I think that would have, just as long as it wasn't Unixmad, but still there was that legal, he had contacted a lawyer and said, you can't touch them. So yeah, I'm not saying this is the most exciting thing in the world for everybody, but for those of you who understand and get it, I just want you to understand that we can't let this content die. We can't let the lore disappear. And major things are changing. PACHUKA's levels are no longer on lockdown. Thing I wanted to touch on before. What I want to do is connect the content together because it's historical, and establish that it is one piece, and establish that the Graal gods are a part of a quest, establish that collecting the Grails is part of a quest, establish that these concepts are a part of a game and a story that is over 25 years old, and that is from an era that was just, I don't know, it's like, you guys, it's just different. Like 1999 is just different. There wasn't very many people online, and the people who were online, we were outcasts, and we were weirdos, and we were artists, and people who knew how to use technology when nobody else did. It wasn't until 2004 that operating systems and computers were a lot easier to use and more readily in your hands and pockets. Cell phones in 1999 were not what you see today. There weren't smartphones. The cell phones were really, really janky, if not basically non-existent. Nobody really had one. They were clunky. They didn't have touch screens and all that stuff. They weren't connected to the internet. But what we have today is way different. In 1999, the stuff that went down, so I want to make sure that that's all connected. That's the whole point of it. I don't just want to take control of it and be like, oh, hey, here we go. What I'm saying is I want to preserve the history, and I want to connect it properly and make sure that those stories are canonized. They're canon. Anyways, because they're real. But anyways, so going back to that, I talked to, as I was talking to PACHUKA, one of the things that I had asked him, I just wanted to double check. I was like, so did you really find, CP on Unixmad's PC? Did you find it on his server? And he had said, he's like, at the time, he's like, He's like, I'm not. He said, I think I heard someone say that, and then when I wrote it out of anger, it came out as something that I didn't mean. So, just going back to that, I wanted to double check because I don't like to put false information out there. Even though Unix Matt is the one Unix Matt has painted me as some creep and liar who's trying to prey on his community, which is a total lie. It's the opposite. So like, I don't care. I don't care. But out of an interest for the truth, I do want to put that out there and say that PACHUKA had confirmed that he says that he may have just heard it as a rumor and told it as if it was true out of anger and rage and just one of his chaotic moments, because he had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder and stuff, and he's been, getting medicated and taking care of himself, and he's a lot more normal, and he's very subdued and peaceful now, and he cares about people, because his mind is no longer like, you know what I mean, in a roller coaster of spinning around and stuff, where people who are dealing with mental illness and stuff, and they're raised from bad backgrounds, they end up in a situation where they have to kind of fight their inner demons. So a lot of that's changed, and so he sees it more clearly now. And I just wanted to clarify that he claims that he doesn't really think that he ever found it personally, but that he had heard it from somebody. So I just want to clarify, I'm kind of back in hiatus then. Is Unix Matt a pedophile or not? We know he's a child predator because he steals from kids. We know that, and he doesn't care. And he manipulates and lies to them. But maybe I don't think he's a pedophile anymore. I just wanted to confirm with PACHUKA because I just feel like I'm at a point where I want to I want to find answers to stuff, and I want to save stuff that needs to be saved. And so that's what's happening. So there's an update on that. And I thought that was a really important one, that PACHUKA had confirmed that maybe that's not the most reliable statement he had made. And he had made that 20 years ago when he was in his 20s. So, I'm not going to hold him to that, and I don't care either, because, people write and say things that they don't mean or that they hear as a rumor all the time, and then later they clarify that, it was just a rumor. So, yeah, that is where that was. And so, I'm just going to say that I don't really know that I think that Unix Matt is, but I know that he preys on kids, so I wouldn't be surprised. I don't care either way. Long story short, moving forward, the content here has been saved. What else? Was there any other updates? I don't know. But I wanted this video to be really... I don't want to put a lot into it. It takes a lot of time and energy to put into videos, and I don't want to keep making, like, big professional videos, because right now, like, if you do that, you can never get anything else done. Like, it takes so much time. Like, my videos before, and they're not even that great, but my videos from 2019... they were like creative and stuff. They took so much time to make those, just so you guys know. And so I don't want to keep putting all this effort into these videos just to get information out there. You have to disperse information to people who are interested in hearing it. Even if it's just a small collection of a few of people who are listening and they matter and they can, carry those torches. So anyway, I don't want to put too much into this video. But I wanted to put that there for you. And yeah.